Hello everyone, and welcome to my guide on the Runex Point store, or rather on Runex Points in general. One of the most common sets of questions I see asked in the help chat is, where is the Runex Point store and what do I spend my Runex Points on? Now, this varies from person to person because it depends, where in the game you are, how focused you are on completing achievements, if you're an Iron Man or an Eco account. But I'm going to give you the basic rundown of what the best use for points early on is. Eventually you're just going to have everything in here just because you do have an infinite number of Runex points. They are consumable, unlike achievement points. But let's go through a rundown of everything you can get in the Runex Point store, and then talk about recommendations for spending them. First off is the cannon stuff. Honestly, the Gilded Cannon is a little ridiculous, because the cannon is not for damage, it's for tagging. So, the extra 250k Runex points are kind of excessive. I do recommend getting the ammo mold, before getting the cannon itself, just so that you can have a stock of cannonballs, but I don't recommend wasting Runex points on cannonballs. It is fairly slow to craft them, but it's AFK and it gives you some smithing XP, and smithing is actually one of the hardest skills on the server. Next up are the Raids Prayers. If you're a main, I would not bother buying these with Runex points, but on an Iron Man account, being able to get these before raids is pretty awesome. It's Rigor and Augury. The Dragon Defender, Fighter Hat, and Fighter Torso are traps, because you can get these not for free, but without wasting a relatively difficult to accumulate currency. By coming here to the Warriors Guild, of course you can get tokens to grind up to your standard Dragon Defender, but if you talk to Camfrina here, you can turn a Fighter Torso into a Torso, or a Dragon Chain Body into a Fighter Torso. I don't recommend doing the Fighter Hat I don't recommend doing the Fighter Hat just because the Dragon Full Helm is used in the Draconic Full Helm, and it's just not worth it, especially with the Slayer Helms. And you can also trim your Dragon Defender. It's a little tedious, but in my opinion, it is way better to do this, because you're going to be grinding a Dragon Defender the normal way anyway, because there are achievements for it. So you're actually earning Runex points by not buying it. I forgot to note that the Runex store is up in the shops. It is the guy with the RX above his head. Madrith, the NPC you sold the EP cash items to back when there were PvP worlds in RuneScape. Next is the Battle Robe set. I'm just gonna say it, I don't get it. They're not, they aren't exactly amazing. 20% chance to save runes on spellcast. There are other items that do that, and they don't take up slots of, significantly better items. The Ava's Accumulator Trimmed is, well, if you're ranging a lot, it's worth getting, because there's no other way to get this. But, it's not a necessity. It's a nice to have. And then you get the Ranged Cape, which is just better. Dwarven Rock Cake, it's a cheap item specifically made for Darrocking. There's not much more to say about it. The Holy Wrench is super cheap because it does emulate the Prayer skill cape effect. But this actually makes it awesome, especially for Prime and Supreme accounts, where Prayer is going to take quite a while to get to 99. Plus it works on Super Restores, which I didn't realize. So that's nice. It's 5,000 Runex points, so imbuing it in the magic chest is a 5% rate. So I wouldn't bother with that unless you have like a surplus of points or a bunch from like donor mystery boxes or something. The Bone Crusher is awesome. You can gamble it for a 50% chance to get the imbued version, which doubles burying XP. I love it specifically because it cleans up drop piles. The passive prayer XP is just a bonus to me. If you're a prime, this is also super worth it. Herbicide, again, it's a convenience. Some people actually just buy this and then AFK at bandits because it works on noted herbs. I haven't personally bothered with it just because I use most of my herbs, so. Charming Imp is super handy because it actually increases the drop rate of charms, but it's not a necessity, it's a convenience after buying the necessities. Speaking of necessities, the Tome of Fire. Offhand mage item. Boosts fire damage by 50%, can imbue it for another 40,000 to boost it to 75%. Yeah, this thing is awesome, and it is actually the first thing I recommend Ironmen pick up from the Runex Point store. Void. You're gonna have to get used to buying Void, because it is a 35% chance to enhance it into Elite, and regular Void is not that good. So this is more of a late game consideration, especially because it's only particularly handy in like raids, maybe Corp. I'm not trying to like damn it, but it's just not worth stocking up on yet. And obviously I recommend buying it one set at a time for the top and bottom. You don't have to worry about buying gloves or helms more than once. Then we get into the tricky thing, Chaotix. So Chaotix are 125k Runex points each, and there's one thing that stops me from saying you should buy them. Or rather, two things. Let's see, it is in here, I believe. Where is the... I'm just looking for the Slayer achievements. Oh, Taskmaster. The Taskmaster 3 achievement gives you a chaotic mystery box, which gives you a random chaotic. It can give you the maul, rapier, longsword, staff, or crossbow. But that's not the only relatively easy free one. It does take 2,000 Slayer kills, but doing that with a Dragon Scimitar is not that bad. The Money Monsoon 2 achievement also gives you a chaotic mystery box. This takes minimum 7 days, but it's a pretty good daily you should be doing anyway, and it gives you another shot at it. With that being said, if you do not get a chaotic rapier or longsword from it, I do recommend picking up the rapier with a big asterisk. You acknowledge that it's going to take a very long time for you to get a Ring of Wealth imbued if you're an Iron Man account, because that costs 150,000 Runex points. Personally, I would go for the Ring of Wealth imbued. Maybe grind for a whip, because the rapier is kind of the next step to the whip. But if you really want to skip to it, you can. I'm not saying don't, I'm saying I personally would not. And I'm not like the end-all be-all source of Runex information, so I might be totally wrong. That might totally be a worthwhile purchase. The crossbow is super good too, but I mean, I'm not sure if it's 125k points when you don't have a Ring of Wealth yet. The Demonic Totem is a relatively cheap item that, again, it's a one-off purchase that allows you to do Demonic Gorillas. Honestly, I would just save it for the first time you get a Demonic Gorilla task, because you shouldn't be killing them off task anyway, because you need the Slayer Emblem drop rate bonus for the Zenite shards. Then there's the Barrel Chest Anchor, which is it's the one item on here that says untradeable, even though I'm pretty sure all the gear, barring the Tome of Fire and Battle Robe set, is untradeable anyway. But yeah, it's the Barrel Chest Anchor, alright. It's an alright crush weapon. This is not the only place to spend your Runex points, however. You can also spend them coming over into the Man building and talking to the Imbue Wizard. You can imbue various rings and certain other pieces of equipment. And it's also how you get the Zamorak Hosta out of the Zamorak Spear. Obviously, the big one is the Ring of Wealth Imbued, because it creates an item that boosts your drop rate. I say this because the regular Ring of Wealth only collects coins automatically to your inventory. The other ring imbues are actually cheap enough that I wouldn't say, like, put them off until you get the Ring of Wealth, because, you know, there are places where you're not going to need the wealth anyway. As a side note, totally get the Ivan's Staff imbued, because plus 5 damage on Ivan's Blast, plus it's just a better staff, and you are set for early game combat. A lot of people stand by the Magic Shortbow. I've just never used it because I was lucky and got a chaotic crossbow. Fighter Torso is, personally, in my opinion, it's a post-Ring of Wealth upgrade, with what I know now. In any case, I really hope that this has helped explain the Runex point system and what you should spend your points on. Obviously, different people have different priorities. You might see something and go, wait, that looks more useful for me. And that is totally okay. This is more of a guideline. I hope this video was useful.